Hi, my dearest family. So, wow, we are in February already. So, time is flying. Let's have a look at how February 2025 looks like. But I have a few announcements to make before we get going. I'm very excited because my third book is ready to be launched. It's going to be an ebook, and I've written a book about how to make money, basically. So this is going to be the only Bible you ever need when it comes to astrology and your financial situation. So there is going to be a launch around the 14th of February, I believe. It should be all ready, but the pre-sale starts now. If you buy the book until the 10th of February, then at the end of the month in February, I will be making a webinar how to use that book. I'm going to kind of walk you through within an hour what you can be doing with this book and then how to utilize it in the bestest possible way. So I'm going to be showing an example chart and walk you through where the money might be lying in that particular book. It's going to be kind of like a Q&A session. So if you are interested, check it out, buy the book right now as we speak, and you will be getting your copy. It will be uploaded on my website by about the 14th of February. It potentially be ready earlier. I'm very excited about this. Secondly, I am launching a new course at the end of the month. And that's going to be a 20-week course all about vocation and money. I've done money courses and vocational courses before, but this time around, I'm going to be focusing on different aspects of your vocational call. So this is pretty complimentary, I would say, when it comes to this book. So you might want to check that one out as well. I think it's very reasonably priced, and there is also a paid uh, plan available, so you can pay in free portions. If that's something that is in interest to you, then I recommend going ahead and booking your space on that course as well. Now, let's get started with 2025 February. So let me kind of list the planetary positions for you. Pluto will be on 2 degrees of Aquarius. Neptune will be hovering between 27 and 28 degrees of Pisces. Uranus will be on 23 degrees of Taurus because it has just turned stationary direct, finally, actually. And then we've got Saturn will be between 17 to 20 degrees of Pisces. And last but not least, Jupiter between 11 to 12 degrees of Gemini. So first of all, the month pretty much starts, obviously, the Mars retrograde still going on. Jupiter goes direct though, very beginning of the week of the month actually, and then Mars will be going direct as well towards the end of the month around the 23rd of February. So that's kind of exciting. Maybe things are going to be moving forward, especially with Jupiter. Maybe you're going to be a little bit more optimistic. Maybe you exactly going to know what type of questions to ask. But Mercury um, will be actually entering the sign of Pisces, and then the sun will be entering the sign of Pisces. So we're going to have quite a lot of planetary energy going on in the sign of Pisces. So that's going to be the Pisces part of your chart. And that is important because I would say that obviously we've got the nodes there currently. We've got Saturn, we're going to have the Neptune, Venus, North Node conjunction happening there as well. So when we have got a lot of planetary energy in one particular part of your chart, sometimes we concentrate on that part of our life, or it becomes somehow stressful. So you need to know how to balance that out. You need to focus on that a little bit. And sometimes the problem with Pisces is that we get scattered, we get kind of blindsided a little bit, and then we don't know what to focus on. So this month is going to be very important that you are focusing on that Piscean part of your chart. and maybe create some type of balances with the Virgo part of your chart. I think that's going to be one of the most important event of the month. Now we're going to have the Sun and Mercury conjunction on the 9th of February. Uh, and that is quite important, of course, because this is a superior conjunction. And the superior conjunction would represent that Mercury is direct, so it's making a conjunction to the Sun, but Mercury will be going retrograde at one point, and then it's going to be making another conjunction to the Sun. So Sun and Mercury conjunctions tends to be happening 4 to 6 times a year. And what we see, in that particular part of our chart is that maybe this is a new way to kind of think about things. So maybe we are upgrading our way of thinking. This is pretty much of a kind of like a 4 month prediction, I would say. So in the next 4 months, we are focusing on the future a little bit, especially because well, what happens with the Sun and Mercury conjunction that it is having a square to Uranus. So maybe what we see is that we don't find that freedom, maybe we feel like that freedom costs money. We have to be making certain type of sacrifices and so on. But remember, Sun and Mercury conjunction, any type of conjunction is about planting the seeds. So a new beginning, that's what it would be talking to us about. So maybe a new way of fixing a certain type of problems in our lives, but also a new way of communicating, for example, with friends and family members and so forth. Maybe you want to be giving birth to a creative project, for example. Maybe also because Mercury went direct sometimes in December, and basically, Mercury has got a very interesting phase. Let me not talk about that much. But maybe you started something already in December, but you didn't see that things went forward. And maybe this Sun and Mercury conjunction could be happening or could be helping you with that. Of course, because there is a connection with Uranus, this could actually talk to us about that. Yes, I want to break free, or something unexpected is happening in our life, or I'm experiencing certain type of disruptions, or surprising events are happening and I don't know how to react to that. But also this is about breakthroughs and intuitive hits, and also potentially kind of like you might be bumping into friends and people in your life who might be providing you certain type of solutions to any of your issues. Because the Sun and Mercury conjunction is happening in the sign of Aquarius, there is an element of an innovation. There is an element of exploring something that is very futuristic, or maybe you find unusual ways to tackle certain type of issues in your life, where you are considering other people as well, because Aquarius is highly humanitarian. But there is also this detachment involved here as well with the Uranus square, right? So well, what do I care about it, right? It doesn't affect me as much, and so forth. So I would say that this is important, though, to know that sometimes freedom costs a little bit of money, and maybe not necessarily money, but freedom costs. And maybe what happens is that you have to be able to detach yourself from certain type of people as well, kind of like distancing yourself from social media, for example. You want to be distancing yourself from certain type of friends, or maybe you even feel a little bit confused about your own long-term goals. You will also see that Venus is in the sign of Aries. Now, I spoke about this before because this is important. Venus moving into the sign of Aries, which is being more assertive. Venus is the planet of desire, and Aries is all about initiating and going after something. So it looks like that you, or many of us, are more focused of self-expression. We desire more freedom. We desire more individuality. We potentially become a lot more brave as well. And because Venus is about money and finances, so we tend to be focusing a little bit more on freeing yourself up from any type of financial obligations, for example. There's a lot of bravery, a lot of courage going on with this. And maybe I'm ready to kind of put on the boxing gloves and having a fight with others if it's necessary. And Venus was in the sign of Pisces, and that was not necessarily about that. That was about forgiveness, and that was about unification and so forth. So maybe this is a part of our lives where we realize that, you know what, I can do this on my own as well. I can create stuff. I don't need others. I don't need other people's approval, for example. But Venus will be stationing retrograde in February, which means that Venus will be walking back into the sign of Pisces. So we're gonna have to kind of, you know, um, even though we want to go forward, it looks like that making a huge decision or making huge plans might not be the smartest idea, just because Venus is going to be going back into the sign of Pisces, where again we might be confused whether we are on the right path or not. So just make subtle changes, I would say. And Venus will be in the sign of Aries, sorry, in the sign of Pisces, quite a long period of time altogether. So, but this is not happening in February. We're going to talk about that later on anyway. So, Venus has just been making this conjunction to Neptune. Yes, and that is all about um, kind of like expenditures, or that is about forgiving our loved ones and letting go of certain type of pains, but also kind of like in a way strengthening your immune system as well, or feeling more compassionate, feeling more sensitive. It's highly imaginative, it's highly creative, and then when Venus moves into the sign of Aries, we might experience that, okay, you know what? I don't want to be lied to. I don't want to be deceived anymore. I don't want to be taken advantage of. I don't want to be taken granted for anything. So I just want to be able to kind of live my own life. We're going to have a full moon happening on the 12th of February in the sign of Leo. So that's again quite an intense full moon, to be frank, for a couple of reasons. We're going to have the Sun and Mercury conjunction still in play, obviously being opposed by the Leo moon, and then Uranus is quite in a tight square with it. However, we do have got a sextile to, uh, sorry, a trine to Chiron, no, yes, a sextile to Chiron from the moon, and the sun is trining Chiron, of course. So there is again that the self-expression element, the freedom element that pops up here. And maybe because Chiron is in the sign of Aries, that will talk to us about whether I feel brave enough to cut ties with potentially the past so that I can move towards the future. But also, this is about what type of people I'm surrounded by, what type of connections I make with others. Maybe you feel like that you cannot express yourself in front of others, and others are not allowing you to shine, and so on. And full moon in Leo, which is always a kind of like a highlight, because the full moons are making the moon extremely visible. So it highlights something in our life. And what it highlights is that it's kind of like partying alone or partying with others, or entertainment, for example. So do I feel entertained by these others, or maybe I'm too generous with others, and then when I need them in my life, then do I actually get something back in return? Or maybe this is highlighting how much fun I have in my life. But remember that we've got Mercury and Sun conjunction happening in the sign of Aquarius. So first of all, Aquarius is highly, or it can be quite rational. So, on one hand, maybe we are approaching this topic from a rational point of view. And then the question is that the moon in Leo kind of wants sometimes to go with the flow. It just wants to enjoy life to the fullest. It just wants to have a bit of a fun. So, there is a little bit of a conflict here. Who to have fun with? And as mentioned earlier, there is this square to Uranus. And maybe you feel like that people's mood are changing, or people's are acting weird, or people are kind of like unpredictable. Maybe one moment, yes, let's go out, for example, and the next moment, what happens is that no one really wants to do anything. So you might see that people are a little bit all over the place, actually. Of course, as we mentioned earlier, Mars is actually still in the sign of Cancer, which is often talking to us about a little bit of a struggle, whether I feel good about myself. Yes, it could talk to us about family feuds, and it could talk to us about inner insecurities, and I would like to kind of tackle them. But actually, what I like this month is that Mars is going to be making quite a nice aspect to Saturn. So it looks like that potentially, if we have got any issues at home with our with our security systems and so forth, then actually we might be able to kind of find solution to that. Maybe you all of a sudden you are going to be able to figure out that, okay, this is my goal, that's what I want to be acting on. You can have this kind of clarity coming to you. On top of that, Mars is going to be making a sextile to Uranus as well, and that's kind of like a intuitive hit. So it really feels like that this energy is going to help us to upgrade our life a little bit more, to figure out what we want, which direction we want to go. And also, this could talk to us about potentially that we are inspired, for example, to start a new job. We are inspired to actually go through a healing. And we've got the Saturn and Uranus soon kind of forming a sextile here. This is not going to be happening just yet, but they are close enough. So it's kind of like upgrading your work, upgrading your family system, being inspired to be free and letting go of certain type of attachments. Remember that Saturn is still in the sign of Pisces, and Pisces represents something that we need to be able to let go. And Uranus wants us to get out of our comfort zone and move towards the future. Also, Saturn and Uranus together is kind of like, Saturn is unfortunately the hurdles in life. Sometimes it represents problems, and then Uranus comes into the picture, who might be giving you these sudden intuitive solutions. Um, and you might be just having to kind of listen to your gut feelings, or you have to be grabbing these opportunities. Good news is then on the 24th of February, as mentioned earlier, Mars will be stationing direct in the sign of Cancer. But on that very same day, actually, Mars will be opposing the moon and having a square with Venus in the sign of Aries. So, yeah, while Mars is stationing direct, it looks like with an opposition to Moon, we are still battling with some of our feelings. We might be battling with having a kind of like a battle, with what my brain is telling me and what my heart is telling me. It looks like the brain might be the winner just because Mars has a trine to Mercury and Saturn conjunction in the sign of Pisces. So this could talk to me about that. Often with Mercury conjunct Saturn, it's all about clarity, but it's in the sign of Pisces. We don't see things clearly. And then we are kind of badly looking for a solution with Mars. Or maybe you kind of feel like I'm not smart enough, or I want to be kind of giving up. I'm a little bit confused about what to think, and so forth. But the good news with Mars that maybe we are ready to be moving forward. Maybe we are ready to lay out new plans and new goals and so on. So do that, work towards your goals quite hard, with the Saturn Mars, not conjunction, sorry, trine. You could have gained some clarity about what you wanted to do. And yes, sometimes we need a bit of a guidance, and you can get that anytime. Maybe you need the guidance from people that you live together with. Maybe you're gonna have to listen to them, or just you're gonna have to listen to your intuition, because Mars will be opposing Moon in the sign of Capricorn. Now that's an interesting one because Moon represents our feelings, but then Capricorn is quite um, practical. So what could it mean is that you are battling whether, I should be listening to my intuition or I should be listening to my, common sense. And that's where Saturn and Mercury conjunction also comes into the picture, which would talk to us about common sense as well. Now, of course, because Venus is being squared here, and Venus represents your values, what you might see is that, you know what, this is not me. I've got certain type of desires going on, um, and I feel like I have to be standing up for myself. And I do not want to allow anyone to kind of take control over my own life. So this could indicate that we get into certain type of arguments with people. So Venus is, of course, the planet of relationships. So, for example, with Mercury being in the picture, we can have an argument with our siblings, with our neighbors, but simply we just can have arguments with people that we live together with. Maybe a lot of us are going to be considering finances as a topic this month, just because of Venus is the financial planet, and then having this configuration going on with Mars, and of course, Mars is the dispositor of Venus, and then it's opposing the moon at the same time. And maybe Venus would like to be independent. This Venus is a lot more risk taking, but the moon is just focusing on common sense. And, Capricorn is pretty practical, pretty much sometimes get stuck in the past. I just had a client who said to me, I'm a very strong Capricorn, so I am playing safe as much as possible. And I'm trying to limit, my own desires and so forth. So I just approach things slowly but surely, and Venus would like to take risks. So that could be the inner battle here, whether to go for it or just to get kind of stuck with something that we already know. And then, of course, because we've got this Mercury in the sign of Pisces this month, which has got quite a lot of, yeah, let's sing a lullaby, let's sing something, let's use our imagination. We have got quite a lot of dreams going on. We want to do something creative with it. The inner guides are telling us that, yeah, go for it. And then we've got this Venus, a little bit of a problematic moon type of things. Who to listen to? To my inner guides or to my practical mind. And the challenge is that Mercury is making a conjunction to Saturn this month. So again, the Saturn is kind of being cautious, telling Mercury, no, don't be too compassionate, don't be too imaginative, because you're gonna go on the wrong road with it. And this is important because Saturn will be the dispositor of that moon. Now, I know some of you will be like, oh, Victor, I cannot see the chart and so forth, but it would be pretty difficult just to kind of go through the charts, you know. So I recommend pulling up a chart and then kind of looking at these dates, what I'm kind of giving you here. Okay, what else? Then we've got a new moon happening. Oh, sorry, before we do that, remember that Saturn is going to be making a conjunction to North Node in the sign of Pisces. So Saturn can be really helpful here because it kind of takes away that very dreamy quality, whatever is going on this month for a many of us. Saturn might be telling us, do not run away, stick around, just wait for your time, or stop drinking, or stop being addicted to things, or stop thinking negatively. So that could be working on one way. Saturn and North Node are pretty close to each other, even though they are not having just a conjunction just yet, um, or but it's very close. So it's somehow sometimes the problem with Saturn is that we are limiting our dreams, or we kind of talk down on ourselves, or we feel kind of discouraged. But remember, Northwood is the path that we need to be on. Now, we're going to have a new moon also happening in February, on the 28th of February. And that's going to be happening in the sign of Pisces, but it will have quite a beautiful trine to Mars in Cancer, but it will have a square to Jupiter as well. So, of course, what we see again here, that let's dream, let's be imaginative, let's imagine what it would feel like to start fresh. Uh, um, let's imagine a better future, for example, and so forth. But Mars is there. And what I like about it is that Mars is already direct. And then it says, you know what? Let's go for it. And I also like that we've got Saturn and the Neptune and the North Node kind of connection going on. And Saturn is telling us that, you know what we dream is actually achievable, especially if our dreams are realistic enough. So there is a lot of intuition going on this month. There is a lot of sensitivity also. And, in a positive way, Jupiter would like us, yes, to ask many questions, but it also wants us to think about whether we are confident enough. So Jupiter would like us to dream big, but sometimes we dream too big, or we are too positive, right? Or we are so ready to grow, or sometimes we have got unrealistic approaches to things. So this is where you must be able to listen to Saturn to kind of limit those big dreams and big things, because you might get very disappointed at the end of the day, or you end up being defeated and then you just want to run away from it and so forth, or you forget certain type of things, or you lose things as well. So Saturn is extremely important in this. And maybe, yes, Mars in the sign of Cancer also can talk to you about that. Sometimes you need to be able to discuss these things, for example, with family members, for example. So let me just summarize some of the dates for you here. So we had the Venus North Node, Neptune conjunction happening on the 1st of February. Then Venus on the 4th of February enters Aries. On the very same day, on the 4th of February, Jupiter stations direct on 11 degree. And then we had the Sun Mercury conjunction, by the way, on 20 degree of Aquarius on the 9th of February. And on the very same day, Mars retrograde is in trine to Saturn. Then we had the full moon on the 12th of February. Then we've got Mercury entering the sign of Pisces on the 14th, and the Sun will follow on the 18th. And Mars stations direct on the 24th of February on 17 degree. While Saturn and Mercury are making a conjunction on 20 degree of Pisces on the 25th. And last but not least, we spoke about the new moon on the 28th of February, which is going to be taking place on 9 degree of Pisces. So I think these are some of the most important aspects that you might want to be noting down in your calendar. Surely like that Jupiter is turning direct. I mean, it's been retrograde since what? Well, of course, I am recording and my internet again cut out. So I just wanted to give some additional thoughts, but anyway, so what I really like about this month, on one hand, is surely the fact that Jupiter is stationing direct. And maybe if we are all able to change our outlook and attitude, we are a little bit more enthusiastic. We focus on our confidence. We're focusing on our belief systems. And then we start kind of like feeling better. And I think that's exciting. And maybe we are ready to put ourselves on a stage. Maybe we are ready to share something with others as well. Maybe we are ready to dream. Then a lot of us will experience quite a lot of things. Right now, of course, we've got this Neptune and node conjunction going on, and we do remember that the nodes went into the sign of Pisces in January, and now having this conjunction to Neptune, you know what? Again, this is about seeing the bigger picture in a way, seeing the spiritual road ahead of us, but also practicing a lot of faith as well. I am going to be making a separate video about the Neptune and North Node conjunction, of course, because this is a major one. I think this is inviting us to love ourselves, to love the path that we are on. And yes, of course, this is telling us that we need to be able to feel the pain. We need to understand the pain, where it comes from. Because sometimes, someone made a comment that it would be so great if someone did something about remedies. And then my reply was that I think the key to remedies is that we're going to have to be able to understand the origin of the pain. That's the very first step. And this is exactly what this Neptune and North Node kind of feels like. If we identify the pain within us, then we are able to move forward. And maybe we need to be letting go of the idea that things have to be perfect around us, because Pisces and Neptune have got so much to do with perfection. It's not just Virgo, right? And maybe also this is a connection where it reminds us that we need to kind of live the spiritual essence of ourselves, or we need to be building kind of like a spiritual community. And maybe this is the rebirth somehow of spirituality overall, right? Um, and the whole month, because of the full moon in the sign of Leo as well, which is all about let me be myself, let me express myself the way I want to. Let me be creative. Let me be, even romantic. Let me have my own desires. And maybe I don't need to be, afraid of being rejected or humiliated by others. Let me expose myself, especially if that is something that I have always dreamt about. Let me be proud about who I am. And the other big thing, of course, we love this month is Mars stationing direct, and Mars has been retrograde since what, December 6th, 2024. So it really kind of feels like that our confidence might be coming back. Maybe we're gonna be able to identify where our anger issues are coming from. Maybe we are ready to make certain type of changes in our life. Maybe we are ready to be us. We are ready to rebuild, our life, because it might have kind of, nothing move forward. It kind of felt like that we get stuck in a mud pretty much, and then we lost a bit of a confidence level. And even though Mars will be in its shadow period until the 2nd of May 2025, so it is a slow process. Okay, it is a slow process, but um I think it's going to get better. And until then, yes, maybe we are a lot more emotional, until Mars is going direct, a lot more emotional. Maybe we don't know how to be straightforward. Maybe we are not able to express our emotions, for example, in the bestest possible way. Maybe our emotions are actually kind of like frustrating as well. Maybe we want to go forward, but we somehow running into certain type of problems and obstacles, and it is frustrating, and then it just destroys our confidence level. But then after, things are moving forward, and I really kind of like that. Remember that whatever you would like to start this month, it really feels like that it has to be around the Pisces part of your chart. And because Pisces is also about endings, and the new moon is about new beginnings. So it really feels like that you're gonna have to be able to put things behind you. And maybe this is the past that you have to be letting go, the fear, the kind of like that you freeze in a way. You freeze because Saturn is there, right? And Saturn is the planet of fear. So I froze because I know it really kind of feels like the 2025 February is about passion and desire, and about becoming the true self of yourself. It really kind of, that's what I feel like it's going to be happening. Some of the signs that are actually might be experiencing a bit of a better month are Cancer, Leo, Virgo. I would say maybe you're gonna start seeing some like moving forward, I would say. So this could be the best for those signs, especially. And also, it really feels like obviously we've got the Valentine's Day happening on the 14th of February, right? And what it really feels like is with that Leo and Pisces combination, this is really kind of like a romantic month. So it really feels like that all of us just have to be able to do something a little bit more fun for us. Yes. So, guys, this is my monthly, very brief analysis. If you would like to get more detailed descriptions of each week planetary energy, and for example, you would like to get even a bit of a breakdown for the 12 signs, then you might want to be considering joining my membership program. It is available on YouTube as well as on my website. Thank you very much for joining, and I will see you next month. Bye bye.